Massachusetts in 1657. Then, sometime shortly before 1650, rum surfaced at an extravagant feast held at the Barbados estate of James Drax, the most important planter on Great Britain's most important island colony. For anyone curious about the cultural history of rum, or who wants to learn about the ancestry of that bottle of West Indian rum in the back of their liquor cabinet, I'd argue that this is as fine a place to begin the story as any. Barbados is pear-shaped and just 21 miles long by 14 miles wide, or about 1/7 the size of Rhode Island. On a map of the Caribbean, Barbados lies far to the east, like a wayward child refusing to stand in line with the rest of the Lesser Antilles, which sweep in a great arc from Puerto Rico to Trinidad. Adventurers from Portugal and Spain landed here in the 16th century, but finding no precious metals to mine nor Indians to enslave, they lingered only long enough to name the island Los Barbados, after the bearded fig trees. Barbados lay unmolested until 1625, when a British sailing ship stopped off while heading home from Brazil. The captain claimed the island for the British throne and reported on its pleasing qualities to Sir William Courtine, the ship's owner. Courtine hastened to cobble together a syndicate, then dispatched a ship with supplies to support several dozen colonists. On February 20th, 1627, 80 colonists, plus 10 slaves captured along the way, disembarked near present-day Holetown on the island's west coast. The mandate given the first settlers by Courtine was not complicated. Go forth and produce. Specifically, produce for export such things as were in demand in England. The colonists tried growing cotton, indigo, and fustic wood, the latter a sort of tropical mulberry useful in making yellow dye. These crops did not produce great fortunes. Taking a cue from the colony at Virginia, which had been settled 2 decades earlier, the islanders planted tobacco, which was then the most profitable agricultural staple in the colonies. But a glut in London soon undercut prices, and Barbados tobacco was hampered by another problem. It was so earthy and worthless, wrote one 17th century island visitor, that it provided little or no return from England. A 1628 shipment was described as foul, full of stalks, and evil-colored. Even the islanders wouldn't smoke it. And then came sugar. The species Saccharum officinarum, sugar of the apothecaries, a freakishly tall and sharp-edged grass, had first appeared around 4000 BC in Asia, most likely in Papua New Guinea, where primitive agriculturalists had selected the sweetest canes for further breeding. These plants migrated eastward with traders to India and on to the Mediterranean. In 325 BC, a general under Alexander the Great came upon sugarcane for the first time and described it with wonder as a plant that brings forth honey without the help of bees. Sugar soon became an essential crop in the colonial Atlantic islands off Africa, including Madeira, the Canary Islands, and the Azores. It made the leap to the New World with Christopher Columbus, whose father-in-law was a Madeira sugar planter. On the explorer's second trip across the Atlantic in 1493, he brought live sugarcane seedlings and oversaw their planting on Hispaniola. The sugar grew fabulously, and colonists were quick to establish plantations over the next 2 decades in Mexico, Cuba, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. The Portuguese, demonstrating a flair for running complex businesses in difficult environments far from home, planted cane aggressively on the damp Brazilian coast and brought in sugar presses and copper boiling vats from home. The number of sugar refineries in Brazil grew from 5 in 1550 to 350 less than a century later. With great quantities of sugar now being produced in the New World, the price fell, and many of the sugar producers of the Mediterranean and the Atlantic islands were ruined. The New World sugar era was dawning. Barbados made the most of it. In England, the demand for sugar soared as it